Hi, welcome back to another Insider, the last one of the month of April. We had all these public holidays. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you had a nice break. And we closed this month of April that I dedicated to language learning. I introduced my new course and I said what I think it's the most important things about learning a second language, regardless of what language it might be. And today I decide to close this with a very important topic, which is raising bilingual kids. For example, if you are living in a country that it's not the country of your heritage and you have children, chances are you would like your children to learn a second language. I think it's a very important thing. So in this video, I'm going to tell you, for example, what I have done and what I think it's important to get our kids learning the language without jeopardizing their mother tongue, because remember, the country where you are living, it's now their mother tongue, and still getting the second language right. So come with me and let's see how we raise bilingual kids. So let's start with this topic of raising bilingual kids. It's becoming more and more common because more and more people migrate and they live in different countries, and then of course they want their kids to learn the language of the countries of their origin, and that's perfectly fine. I for one think that even if that it's not the case, I think learning a second language, or sometimes even a third, it's always helpful, and it really opens horizons for a whole lot of experiences, not only professionally, but even personally. If you know a second language, chances are you can be connected to the culture where that language is spoken, and that may open a lot of opportunities in terms of, for example, employment, but also even if you travel, if you know the language of the country that you are traveling, it really facilitates things because it will enable you to communicate with the people there, and things get easier, I would say. So, but let's talk about when it's the right time to teach our children. There is a lot of information and there is a lot of opinions about that. By no means any opinion is valid. I don't think I've got the right answer, because I don't think there is a right answer for this type of question. This is based on my opinion as a linguist, as a mother, and what I think it's the best approach from what I've seen in so many instances, and for example, having my daughter in primary school and seeing what may be happening with other kids, for example, I think it's a balance of things. So first, the earliest you teach your kids, the better. They are like sponges. All doctors will tell you kids are like sponges. Whatever you throw at them, they will absorb all the knowledge, and the sooner the better, because it will be easier for them to assimilate. And for example, to what pronunciation is concerned, if you teach them earlier in the piece, so earlier in life, it's way better for them to adapt and learn different sounds, because of course languages have different phonetics, different sounds, and if you learn later in life, it might be more difficult for you to get sounds that sometimes are totally foreign, totally unknown to your mother tongue. For example, that happens a lot with Portuguese and English. Yes, there are a lot of sounds in Portuguese that for an English speaker would be harder to get because they don't exist in the English language. And this is valid for this pair of languages, and it's valid for I would say for every pair of language. So the easiest part of it is when they start early, because they assimilate all the knowledge, so they will get all those rules, all those words, etc., and it will be easier for them to get the pronunciation and the phonetics right. But introducing a second language is a very, very good opportunity for them to develop and grow a new skill that obviously it's very, very important. There'll be a time where they mix the two languages, but that's totally normal. And then eventually their brains will be able to separate them and separate vocabulary and rules, etc. And that's when they will eventually become bilingual. But of course, at the beginning, there might be some mix, there might be some confusion even. Sometimes, for example, I'm going to take the example of a native English speaker child will try to speak the second language, and when they don't have that vocabulary, they throw English in the mix. Another thing, it's quite obvious that at the start, they will be thinking in English, and I said that in my courses, both for children and adults. It is important that you think in the language that you are speaking. I know, sounds tricky, but you will get there eventually. I was told this by a teacher when I was learning English, and now I totally agree with that. You cannot speak a language if you're not thinking in that language. And then you go and teach your kids. So how should we do it? If you know a second language, start introducing as early as possible. However, I would say let the mother tongue develop and teach the second language. Once they reach school age and are able to read and write, you can enroll them in a course, for example, or if you are skilled enough to teach them the language yourself, then go ahead and do it. It is important that, of course, the native language must prevail at this stage, and the reason being, and I've seen this many times, again, with pronunciation, with the phonetics. If you teach the kid what should be their second language earlier in the piece, and you hardly speak their first language, when they reach school, they will have problems with the phonetics. They will have problems assimilating what it is indeed their first language. So I don't, it's a personal opinion, I don't agree with that, because I think it can create a lot of issues, especially at school, when they obviously have to speak the language of their country. And of course, if they are used to speak another language at home, if they are only taught to speak another language, then it is true that they are going to pick up rather quick, because they are inserted in the environment and everyone is speaking that language. Yes, it is true, but it will cause them, in my view, it will cause them unnecessary stress and unnecessary troubles that they don't need. So we want them to learn a second language, yes. We don't want them to go and have issues at school, because at the end of the day, that's their first language and should always be seen as such. Just because it might not be your first language does not mean that your children have to be the same. This is my personal opinion. That's what I went about it. I got some criticism about it, and I think I've done the right thing. My daughter is now on the right path to become bilingual, and that's what I believe you should do. let them develop the first language, so their mother tongue, the language of the country they were born, and then introduce the second language. You can introduce them both and start going on with both things at the same time. That is fine. That is totally fine, because they can incorporate both. And I did that a little bit with my daughter. But then always let them prevail their mother tongue and then get to the second language. Once they reach school, once they are able to read and to write, then go the next step. They may already know a few words. They may already know a little how to say a few things, how to elaborate a few sentences, and then you go the next level and you teach them the grammar, teach them the vocabulary, and let them go the extra mile. So let them really start going deep into the language. That was my approach, and that is what I think, what I can, what I did, and what I think is the best approach. It is important that they know the rules. As I said, and as I said in my previous video, it is important if you are teaching a second language. And these days, in the instant world, everyone wants to learn just a few sentences to get by, and that's not how you learn a language. That won't even get you by. So obviously, if you want your child to be bilingual, that wouldn't be the right approach, because yes, they can say a few sentences, they can say hello and goodbye to the grandparents if the grandparents live overseas, they can say a few things, but if they don't know the rules, if they don't acquire that vocabulary, if they don't know how to use the language effectively, for example, when they go and visit the rest of the family, they won't be able to communicate with the rest of the family. So and this is just for your child. Imagine when they grow up, if they want to have a job that it's remotely linked to that country, and they really need to have a good communication, because learning a second language is a very important tool these days. I think in the world that we live in, having that option, having that skill set, I think it sets you up for success, because everyone needs to communicate abroad these days. No company stays within the old neighborhood or a city or even a country. Companies today, they just go internationally, and they have businesses outside their own country. And of course, language is essential. Translation is essential, of course, for those companies. And of course, if you have employees, if you have employees that can communicate with those clients in those countries, of course, it's a must-have, because that employee will be linking your company effectively with that country. So that is why I think it is very important today. I always thought that learning more than one language is a very important skill to have. But today, with the world we live in, with all this international and global world that we have, I think it is pivotal that you learn a second language. And of course, giving that opportunity to your children, it's amazing. I know families, for example, that both parents came from different countries, and the child end up learning 3 languages, or sometimes 4 or 5, and that's great. That is amazing. The more, the merrier, I would say, because it opens our horizons for the child. It opens all sorts of opportunities once they grow up, and of course, it's very good for their development as well, for their thinking, for the problem-solving skills, because once you have 2 languages and you have to train your brain to deal with both languages, and deal with them effectively. Separate them in your brains, like all the cabinet files over there, everything really packed up properly. It really gives you a very important skill that will help you in all other aspects of your life, because it's giving you that that thinking, that critical thinking, that problem solving skills, concentration, because you really need to concentrate in the second language, that that may have totally different rules, may have a totally different structure in terms of sentences, etc., may have totally different sounds and phonetics that you need to learn. And that is very important. That is something that will stay with the child forever if they learn the things right. That's why I think it is very important. It's important for a child to learn a second language. I would say do it as soon as you can, and then let the child develop that knowledge. Let them know everything about that language. They need to know the rules. They need to know the vocabulary. Train them. Let them train as much as possible. Give them access to dictionaries, thesaurus, and all sorts of material that they can use to develop their skills, but never forgetting their mother tongue, which is the language of the country they are in. I have seen a lot of issues with students that go and, for example, the foreign language is spoken prior to them going to school, and then when it's a very different language, for example, in terms of phonetics, the child ends up having a lot of issues at school, needing help, etc., because it is difficult for them, especially I think, especially in terms of phonetics, in terms of the sounds and getting the right sounds. It's the main thing that I think gets the kids, and you don't really want to put your child through that sort of stress when they see all other kids are speaking the language, all the other kids are communicating each other, and then they might even feel a little isolated because they still are not at the top of things. So I would not recommend, and by no means, I was recommended by one of my child's educators when she was at playgroups and things like that, by educators that I should, in my case, speak Portuguese only, that she would pick up English at school. I don't agree with that method. I did not do that because I know, and I've seen that firsthand with other students at her school now that have difficulty with English and learning English because another language was provided to them or was taught prior to English. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's a good method. I wouldn't like my child to be having issues at school or feeling isolated or put aside because she cannot communicate. I think communication is a very important part of life, of human life. And if we don't know how to communicate effectively with our peers, chances are we are going to feel isolated, and all sorts of issues, not only learning issues, but mental issues, etc., can rise from that. So this is my personal opinion, of course, and as I said, this is what I have done. And I think I'm doing pretty well because my child, she's developing. She is now doing my course. I did, as you know, I have my language, my school, where I have 2 language courses. I have learning Portuguese as a second language both for adults and children. So she's doing the children version of the course and she's enjoying it. And I can see the development, her development, for example, when she speaks to my parents, who are living in Portugal, and if she speaks with family abroad, she can communicate and use, and she's starting to use the language more and more effectively. So don't think that just because they start a little later that they are not going to learn. It's chances are it's a very quick process, and I can see that happening with my daughter. It's a very quick process because, as I said, they're like sponges, and this is what you need to do, but not jeopardizing what is their mother tongue. In the case of my daughter, English, because that will obviously bring a lot of issues. I see her development, I see her obviously excelling at school, and also I see her now excelling in the course as well, and she is using her Portuguese skills, and she's using the language and the vocabulary. Of course, she's not 100%, she has just started the course, but she's pretty good, and she's learning with the vocabulary, with all the exercises, because I think another thing is training. So train with your kids, just keep talking to them, say things to them. If they are doing the course, for example, just go have a look what they're doing, have a look if they have any questions, if you can help. Of course, if you're doing my course and if they have any questions, you can contact me anytime and I'll be very happy to help. But of course, if you have chosen another course, or if they are in a physical school, there are obviously a lot of these options for many other languages that you can do. If they are, so obviously they will have another teacher that will assist them. I think it's important that things are done in a certain order in order for them to work. And I think that's why I wanted to talk about this, because it's been a topic that it's thrown out so many times, and I've been in so many gatherings where this topic of raising bilingual kids comes about. And I know that I may not have the approach that some people have. However, I do think that this is a good approach. This is my personal view, and I think it's working. I can see it working with my daughter, and I can see how other methods may have their flaws, because the kids may have issues in the language that they should learn first. I would say your mother tongue needs to be the first one that you learn, and then you go and learn a second, a third, a fourth, whatever, how many you want, but your mother tongue must be the first one. And if that is taken away, it can create a whole lot of issues that you obviously don't want for your child. This is why I decided to bring this today. But if you have any questions, please drop me a line. I'll be very happy to answer, because I think this is a very important issue. More and more parents are, embracing the idea of giving the opportunity of their kids to their kids to learn a second language, or even a third. I think it's a great opportunity because it really opens their minds. It opens their it's a good skill to have, and it helps with so many other things, as I said, like concentration, like problem solving, lots of things that they obviously need to have in order to learn a second language. If they are trying to communicate with someone in a language that it's not theirs, they need to solve that problem. They need to understand how to solve it. And that's where it comes about. That's where the problem solving comes about. So I think this is a good skill. And today I just decided to talk about it, to end this April dedicated to languages and learning a second language or a third, who knows. And today is the last day for the promotion of my courses, so don't miss out. Just enroll if you want to learn Portuguese, for example, as your second language. Either you're an adult or a child, you can, because I've got a version for every one of you. So I hope you liked it, and this is something that I really feel very strongly about. I really think is important, and I hope you like it too. And that's all for today. I hope you liked today's Insider. I hope give you a little bit of an idea of how to go about teaching your kids a second language. Because of course it's every child is different. Every child learns their own way. And of course, as a parent, you know what may or may not work for you. I, for one, think when it comes to parenting, there is not like a one-size-fits-all approach, because each child is different, each family is different, and you definitely are the best person to know what's best for your child. This is basically me sharing my experience as a mother and, of course, as a linguist and now as a language instructor as well. This is what I've done with my daughter, and I can see it's working. I can see she's developing the language, and she is capable of using words. Of course, at first, they're not going to speak the other language fluently, and it takes time. Of course, it takes time. It takes a lot of practice, and they need to get all that vocabulary in order to be able to start developing their skills. But if they have that background, that as I would say, that pillar, that structure behind them, the rules of the language, how they should build sentences, how they use those words effectively, the types of words they should use, and what are the functions of those words in the sentence, etc., etc. All the cultural traces. It is very important to learn the cultural traces, because if you are going to learn a language, you are not fluent in that language if you don't know the cultural traces. Because if you are talking to a local, those are going to be present in what they say, and if you don't understand what they mean, then you won't be able to reply to them effectively. So that's a very, very, very important part of learning a language, and it comes with time. It comes with a lot of practice. That's why exercising is so important, and keep training, keep going and talking. For example, to my students, one of the things that I recommend is to say the words out loud for themselves, say the words in front of a mirror if they want, or to their family or whatever. Write the content of the lesson so they can keep going and being acquainted with the language, how you write the words, getting all that vocabulary in their minds, in their brains, so they are able to use it more effectively. I think that is a very important aspect of it. So, and I think this applies for the Portuguese language, which is obviously my case, but it happens, I think it will apply for any other language that you are learning. If you train, if you keep on training your brain, if you keep on training those skills and those rules and try to get even better and better, yes, it may get a little frustrating at times if things don't come your way, if maybe you make a little mistake here and there. But just remember, we all start somehow, and if we keep on going, if we never give up and we keep on going, that's how we get there in the end, because we keep on training. we keep on trying to get better and better and better. And I think with languages, that's the secret. If we just think that we go and do a course and read a book and that's done, that's not exactly how you do it. You keep training, 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 and getting better and better and better. Of course, for example, watching TV and watching programs in that language will help massively, but of course, not all of us have access to that. These days, with streaming services and things like that, it's a little bit more that access is more facilitated, I must say. But of course, it may not be an option for everyone. So I think the secret is really one of the things I recommend, for example, and this would be more for adults, but I think for children can apply as well. It's read. For adults, I would recommend, for example, reading the newspapers of the country where that language is spoken. For children, for example, if they have access to children's books in that language, would be a very good option. Unfortunately, to what concerns to Portuguese, they would have a challenge there because, as you know, and I've been a very strong advocate against the orthographic agreement, which is vandalizing the language and making really a mockery of what is a secular language. It's appalling. It's very sad. So if you are learning Portuguese and if you try to use those skills, it will be a little bit of a challenge. I understand that. That is why I created my courses. First of all, because I wanted to give my daughter the opportunity of learning the real language. And then because I wanted your children and yourself to have the same opportunity that I had and that I am now providing to my children. So I hope you like this video. If you have any questions about this topic or any other topics that I discussed in my insiders, please leave a comment below. I'll be very happy to answer you. Or if you have any topic that you think it would be a really good one for a future insider, just right away give me the topic. Just leave a comment below. I'll be very happy to accommodate it, and maybe we will have that topic on a future insider. As you know, I'm very happy my channel is been growing, and I'm very, very grateful for all of you who are on that side watching me and watching my insiders every week. But I would like to ask you a little favor. When you watch my videos, if you really like my content, please put a like and subscribe the channel with a click on the bell. We get a notification of a new insider. This is not any sort of thing for me to spam you with messages or anything like that. I am not going to do that. You don't pay anything. It's totally free. What it does is that helps my channel grow. That is because the YouTube algorithm will pick up that my videos are being watched by more people, have more likes, have more comments, and they or the algorithm itself will distribute my content to more people. So I'll have more and more and more viewers, the channel grows, more people will have access to my videos, and my community becomes bigger and bigger. So if you are there, if you like this video, please put a like and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell so you get a notification of a new insider every week. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.